554. Comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk, as we have Calvin Williams joining us over on that page there today. It's a good way to leave your comments throughout the hour there. Well, of course, because, well, among other things, we got a lot of comments that come in throughout the show, and that's the way you can do so. All the people dropping those reacts as well as Flaco Jimenez pushing further for that Taco Paso. Maybe we should start a food blog. I don't know. We'd never run out of tacos to try in town. I know that for sure here. But also dropping those likes and reacts. Calvin Williams, Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores, as George Zavala also wishing us a good day here as well. To you as well, good sir. So a lot of stuff that we'll be delving into here today, of course, because, just ever so slightly a busy news day. Yes, I know there's a lot of anticipation for this evening, most specifically, but, well, let's just say that Friday is coming, so don't worry about our chance to talk about that. In the meantime, we've got more than a few things to discuss here anyway, among other things. Yes, we actually do have more on the weather. Now, I was ever so slightly saying that I'm glad we're not Del Rio or Eagle Pass, and, well, that's coming to bite me in the butt because we are looking at hitting those 107s ourselves here. So just as an ever so gentle reminder, no, we're not turning into the Weather Channel. But seriously, stay safe out there as we're dealing with these temperatures. Stay hydrated. Don't do what I do and always be drinking on these energy drinks. But we have a level of things we need to maintain here as we continue with the show. So drink water. At least alternate water is what I'm saying. In any case, those issues are just kind of in the background of all of this, as there's actually, I know there's a lot of anticipation. Okay, let's call today a random theme that I guess kind of fits anticipation ahead of other things. Well, there's still plenty going on. You can look at that with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, of course, there's much anticipation of that potential Roe v. Wade impacting decision based on the leaked draft of a majority decision. But there's actually a decision out as of this week that has some significant impacts here in the borderland. We'll get into that as well. Also, some more shortages going on, even as there is some anticipation of more baby formula showing up, a spicy staple of even, yes, here in the borderland, showing up very, well, having issues with the manufacturer there itself. So the shortages do continue in a whole lot of ways. And yes, even as we have some anticipation of maybe further action coming out of the administration when it comes to topics that we have discussed a little bit, such as climate change, energy, etc., renewables, etc., that there will be something on the local ballot, probably likely, it seems at this point from everything I'm seeing. So we'll delve into what exactly the El Paso Climate Charter is with one of its advocates, and just as an ever so gentle reminder to those of y'all out there who don't quite get how we do it here, we first seek to understand and then to be understood. So yes, we will be hearing from an advocate for this as to what exactly why they are promoting and going for this thing. And of course, we will then discuss it. Make no mistake, that is one of our core focuses that we will always have going on here. And RJ said that just heard the ring. I'm going mobile. Good luck with that. Flaco Jimenez saying pickle juice is a very good for hydration. Okay, I know there's that pickle juice beer out there, but I guess it's just not one of the things that works for me here. Dave Visconti talking about Biden ghosted by Mexico. Yeah, the Summit of the Americas has proven to be a little bit more politically fraught than, well, even such a political conference would be here. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Of course, that's another thing in the background. Of course, also a lot of anticipation happening for those other Supreme Court decisions, for those other hearings going on, and those other things coming out of the administration. But let's get straight into it here, just because I know it might break some people's hearts. Though, really, if you were that much into it, you probably have a decent supply. If you're like me, anyway, you might have a decent supply as it is, but does not bode well for the future. A sriracha shortage. Say that 5 times fast. Sriracha shortage. is the correct way to say it. The actual maker of it, Hoi Fong's Food, shutting down because of, quote, multiple unexpected events, end quote, that caused a shortage, including crop failure for the spring chili harvest and climate conditions. The California-based company hopes to restart filling orders after Labor Day. So if you're a fan of the red chili paste or hot sauces in general, I mean, they have their own specific supply, sure, but that does not bode well. And instability tends to create further instability. But of course, there is also the potential for more formula finally landing in Texas. Actually, specifically today, more than 100,000 pounds of infant formula has arrived in the Lone Star State, made by Nestle, flown from Germany to Dallas-Fort Worth. Of course, part of the Operation Fly formula. 2 million bottles will be shipped across the country, and there are more additional deliveries expected. Having checked out the local situation and my very non-scientific anecdotal evidence only, does look like there is some still in stores. I want to say shelves about half full from the random store that I went to. Not big box, but big grocery seller, and I'm not going to name a name of the outlet there because I'm sure you can guess which one. But in any case, so that's another bit of that supply chain issue. But I mentioned, of course, that other Supreme Court decision. Well, yes, we are waiting on. It was actually supposed to start early this week, but decisions were seemingly a little bit more delayed than even anticipated, which I guess that makes a level of sense. But there is a case that will have some impacts, among other things, on border security. And the reason I wanted to bring this up further, there is a lot of consternation, it does seem, coming out of this. So you may have heard about the decision in the case, specifically this case, styled as Egbert versus Boule, Boule. Boule? It happened in Washington State, so I'm not making any assumptions about the actual pronunciation of that last name there. But the reason that it is, well, getting a lot of at least consternation in circles that I'm following, depending on who you ask, of course, is that this could have further implications for the sector of increased concern, control, depending on who you ask, could be put both ways, of where border security forces in general, Border Patrol most specifically often cited, but I mean, CBP and ICE, of course, have their place in that as well, of the 100-mile corridor of all of the boundaries of the United States. You may have been seeing some maps pop up online showing that 100-mile strip that, well, does include actually quite a significant portion of the American population. Of course, we're no strangers to that here in our area, but others, including those that feel they may be more inland, a lot of concern that I wanted to look further into, at least, again, from some sectors out there, saying that there are now no rights to personal property in certain areas, well, within that area that we're talking about, that 100-mile strip. So wanted to see, okay, what exactly is at the core of it here? So again, in Egbert versus, we'll go with Boule for now, majority decision 6-3 did rule in favor of the defendant in this case, who is a Border Patrol and immigration agent himself, that was being sued civilly in this case by, well, someone who had been roughed up allegedly by the defendant in this case, again, as an officer of the law of immigration here. And so some of the specifics that come out of this, not to get too technical right at the start of the show, we'll certainly talk about it a little bit further, was that essentially only Congress can authorize a lawsuit of someone under color of law. You might consider this similar, though not at all in the same terms, as the idea of qualified immunity, except this is almost to like the nth degree, because it requires essentially another, not even just congressional authorization, but a law to be passed, is what they're really coming down to. And where the, again, majority stands in this case, I believe it was Thomas writing for the majority there, Justice Clarence Thomas, that is, writing that, no, there is no essentially legislating from the bench coming from here, and that if Congress wants to authorize this, they would have to do so by passing a law. The flip side of this, and why it came to my attention, is some saying that there is now no longer a Fourth Amendment, even some novel Third Amendment implications being brought up. You don't often, anytime I hear the Third Amendment come up, I'm definitely going to be like, okay, what the heck are you talking about? If anyone's unfamiliar with that, as you probably would be, because let's just say there's not a whole lot of like Third Amendment lawyers out there. It's about quartering of troops without compensation in homes. Yeah, hasn't come up exactly like a whole lot ever since the Revolutionary War. But so that's what got me mildly interested in it. So take a look for yourself if you got a good opinion source you go to. But I think that there's a little bit overblown on the idea of what the Fourth Amendment implications could be. essentially, yeah, we're looking at a more nationalized kind of qualified immunity, particularly when it comes to, well, the national security implications were brought up there, even though the plaintiff in this case said, no, there were no national security implications. He was just being denied his due process and even being retaliated upon by the defendant. But the court did turn that down. Though, of course, the minority in this case had some further things to say about that. But tell you, we're already overdue for that first break of the hour right now. We're just barely scratching the surface of all of the, again, anticipatory things we are discussing here today. Coming up after this break, our interview with Ground Game Texas in conjunction with Sunrise El Paso, who have been pushing. You may have even been approached. I know I have when I've been out and about around this area having lunch. In fact, happened to be again today with a petition effort that's been going on. You even had it sent to your house, as I did. Not exactly as they were expecting me to sign, I don't think, because it was addressed to me as a well-registered and on-record voter or current resident. So, no, I did not feel special by this. But seeing that this petition drive coming up and what exactly it says, we're going to delve into that, because just based on the trajectory of what they are telling me, this could very well end up on the ballot for you to then make the ultimate decision on. So we got to take that first break of the hour right now. A lot of different comments coming in here. Calvin Williams saying, let's get Andrew to interview members of the city council. I mean, we have had some interviews in the past, though. Let's just say maybe we are due for some more here. Catherine Codry also saying good vibes only. That's awesome as well. So let's talk more about that after a lot more after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in, a lot of ways to get at the show, reacts, all that good stuff, and a whole lot more discussion about what we got going on in the borderland after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Speaking of good vibes, when's the last time that you had a great home-cooked meal that just seemed to come together almost effortlessly? Okay, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but when you've got good ingredients on hand and quality stuff to help put it all together, it can make it that much more, A, delicious, B, simple for you, your family, and what's better than having a little bit of tranquility around the dinner table? The way I do, at least part of that anyway, is by going with my guy over at Enhanced Flavors. That is Enhanced with a D Flavors. Find them online at enhancedflavors.com. They have got quite the variety of course, extra virgin olive oils, flavored olive oils, and balsamic vinegars. I'm always surprised as I'm looking through what their selection is. You can catch them, of course, out in the community, including this coming up weekend. They're going to be out at the Country Club Farmers Market, and you want to find them there between 10 and noon. So that's just one of the many ways. Of course, again, online at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D flavors.com. And yeah, of course, the Country Club Farmers Market, 1071 Country Club Road. That's 1071 Country Club Road. And everything, again, the full selection, including your discount code to get 15% off of your next order online at enhancedflavors.com. That code to enter, EF Radio, as in Enhanced Flavors, just EF Radio. Enter that with your order at enhancedflavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for a crash Traywood Drive at George Dieter and use Montwood or Saw Kleinfeld as alternates. Traffic slowing there. Gateway Boulevard northbound at Dyer. At accidents in the clearing stages. Donovan at Sunland Park. An accident reported. And paramedics on the scene of a medical emergency. Trowbridge Drive west of Chelsea. At Wainwright Drive. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
If you like storytelling that isn't woke, then listen to Red Pilled America. This week, we tell the origin story of the transgender movement. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America. You're gonna love it.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies. They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-583-9917. 800-583-9917. Don't wait. Call now. 800-583-9917. 800-583-9917.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. This spring, you can share your own observations about nature with scientists and play a critical role in scientific discovery by adding to their data collection. Discover more about citizen science programs such as monitoring weather, observing plants and animals, and more. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
When Natalie was diagnosed with cancer, she took control of her health. When Natalie wanted to help other people with cancer, she became a doctor. When Natalie wanted to make quality care affordable, she became a researcher. When Natalie's patients needed innovative treatments, she found them. Conquer Cancer supports researchers like Dr. Natalie McKenzie so we can conquer every cancer for every patient everywhere. Cancer research saves lives. Learn more at conquer.org. That's conquer.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our various social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll get to those comments here more in just a bit. But joining us in studio right now, we do have Luis Enrique Miranda, campaign manager for El Paso for Ground Game Texas. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Andrew.
Absolutely. So this is an interesting situation because I'm reached out to by a lot of people a lot of different ways, and I'm aware of a lot of different political efforts going on around town, but it's rare that I'm actually sent a petition in the mail. And that's how at least this started for me, because this is talking about specifically, people may have heard about it as the idea of the El Paso Climate Charter. And so there's a couple groups involved in this, of course, Ground Game Texas, we mentioned, but also the Sunrise Movement, El Paso. So yeah, got the letter in the mail here that details it, that you all are doing this petition drive, getting these signatures and sent out the actual petition itself to order to get to this to be considered. So for people who may not have heard of this before, because I mean, you have now, to my understanding, achieved several thousand signatures, even over a requirement. But for people who have never heard of this before, the concept of the El Paso Climate Charter, what is that?
All right. So I guess the first place to start is, what is a charter in general, right? And it's kind of this legal document that lays out the foundation of our city government, its division of powers, its things like that. And the Climate Charter is basically an amendment to that. It adds a new department with a new head. It establishes a climate director position. So they'll be in charge of this department. And their purpose is to basically implement robust climate policy for the city level and basically have emission regulation at a city level. And it does that through changing our city government buildings into solar, requiring that solar mandate in a city infrastructure. It requires the city to consider green jobs when getting new funding for any grants or anything like that, to kind of prioritize that. It also has a caveat that it cannot eliminate jobs. So if they identify a job that's related to a fossil fuel industry or a dirty job, right, those people are not going to be eliminated. The climate director is tasked with identifying and creating a plan to transition those people into clean energy. There's some parts of it. I mean, that the whole thing is about 6 pages long. It's a complex piece of legislation, but essentially that's what it does. It puts out goals for the city to get move away from fossil fuel emissions and reduce its contribution and eliminate it by 2045. And the main points are just like that. Like I said, switching to solar. The other one is water conservation, requirement of keeping water clean and keeping water from being sold to outside of fossil fuel infrastructure, fossil fuel industries outside of city limits. It also has and like I said, the green jobs. The other thing it has, it's not written into the language, but one of the things that it's very important for climate director to address is also our quality of air and identifying how to improve that. It also has a section on infrastructure. I'm kind of just spitballing at this point.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a lot involved with this. Like you mentioned, 6 pages here. The letter, the way you put it out here is that the what of it, the charter amendment will adopt a comprehensive climate policy with goals of reducing the city's contribution to climate change, investing in renewable energy, and promoting climate justice. And again, you actually do have the website. The full charter amendment, as you're talking about it here, can be found at ggtx.org/El Paso. So if people want to see any of those specific details, they certainly can here. But so getting to the specifics here is of interest. So we've talked a little bit about, again, climate change in general, concern about that emissions from the city level. It's interesting that you mentioned, therefore, the selling of water specifically for fossil fuel use, because that is one of the areas that the state has been picky about, I guess. There has been previously, when there were local efforts to ban fracking, say within a municipality, the state has then passed laws, the state of Texas, saying that that is not allowable. Is there any interaction you're aware of state laws along this, or would there be expectation that if something like this were to be implemented, that could be an issue?
Okay, so we did our legal review, and we did look at those laws. The names escape me right now, but the ones consumer protection laws that the state had passed. So it doesn't conflict with any current laws, but we would expect it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to have this conservative state government target these laws post
implementation. Yeah. So then, when you're talking about infrastructure, what's the focus there?
Yeah, so for infrastructure resilience, right? So have a city that's resilient to more the increasing weather events, extreme weather events. I mean, you saw our monsoon last season, and I mean, people's vehicles were destroyed, and our roads were not built to let water pass through. Right? This is something very basic, even with something that we've seen in the past with the 2006 floods, where that Blockbuster got washed away. It's that area. If you look at it, there's a natural arroyo from our mountain.
Yeah.
And they just did not build drainage. They did not build any sort of path for it. So of course it goes over our roads. And I think that kind of stuff, as it becomes more increasingly extreme weather, those flaws in our design, in our city's design, are going to become more and more prevalent, and they're going to become more and more of a danger for people's lives and for their day-to-day, for their lives, in all aspects. And so that's what we mean when we call infrastructure is rebuilding our city to exist in the ecosystem that it does, and that it fits into where we live, and it also protects us from these weather events, so that it works towards our advantage, not against us. I mean, there's this one example. I think it's really funny, actually, how ridiculous it is. On Donovan, there's right where Rosa's Cantina is. There's that area that gets flooded horribly.
Yeah,
and there's a little wall that's maybe like, I don't know, a foot or maybe a foot and a half high. It has no drainage or whatever. And so the water all builds up there. And then you have the river right next to it. So it's like, you could have just let that water flow through, right? Or I don't know. I mean, I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but it just kind of seems like you could have built something in there to prevent that area from becoming extremely flooded. And I'm like going way into the weeds and focusing on one particular thing. But just to give examples of how our city infrastructure is failing us already, and ways that we can improve that, and also have this law codified, and having this mindset of how do we prepare ourselves for those extreme weather events? Because right now you have those excuses from city that's like, there's a 1 in 100 years flood. Like, those are the kind of events that a city should be planning for.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Luis Enrique Miranda, campaign manager for El Paso with Ground Game Texas, talking about the suggested and proposed and currently under petition effort climate charter for the city of El Paso. You want to find out the exact text of that and find out more information about what we're talking about here, ggtx.org/El gtx.org/El Paso, as well as another local organization involved in this, sunriseelpaso.org. So in general, I mean, some of these things that you can see how they came about, but this specific effort, this codifying into the idea of this climate charter, how did this come about?
Yeah. So we're going to go all the way back to March of 2021. And basically Mike Siegel, who's the political director for Ground Game Texas, is looking to start some ballot initiatives around climate issues in Texas. And the Sunrise Movement was a huge supporter of his congressional campaigns. And he had a lot of connections with the local Sunrise hubs over there. We approached them first, and then they basically recommended Sunrise El Paso to reach out to us because they did not have the capacity to help start a campaign. So he approached us. He's like, "Hey, are you guys interested in doing something climate related?" His original pitch was, I think, like a jobs program with the CARES Act, a green jobs program. And Sunrise El Paso's response is basically, let's do more. If we're going to do a ballot initiative, let's sit down, take it seriously, and try to draft the best possible policy. It took us about 7 months worth of revision, editing, pitching, and writing, and also submitting these drafts out to other organizations, to other community organizations, to other community members, and receiving feedback from different aspects, from different El Pasoans on what they find to be important and what they thought about what we had written and how to improve upon that, or what have we missed. So it was a long process. And yeah, when we first basically shot down Mike's first idea, he was like, "Yeah, I get what you're putting down. Think big." Here, he came back with another pitch, and it was basically the bones of the charter, like the climate director, climate department. So here's a basic idea. What will they do? And then we spent the next 7 months answering that question.
So for just the concept of this, particularly that establishment of the department, how would that exist? Would that exist under essentially the city manager department, or would this be a separate one?
It would be a separate one. So they would not be under the direction of the city manager. In fact, if you read through the charter, it stipulates that the manager has to work with the climate director developing the city budget. So it'd basically be like a watchdog for the city. So everything the city's trying to propose, their job would be, what is the environmental impact of this? And generate those reports. That's another big aspect of this policy, is just generating that data for community members to utilize, for groups such as like Familias Unidas de Chamizal, right? Who have been tied up in multiple lawsuits. And I think overall, one of the biggest problems is transparency in city government, right? And this is a tool to basically generate data on what the city's doing and in terms of climate, and have that be a tool for people to use. So this climate director would be appointed by the city council, and then they would be in charge of their own department. And like I said, they would be doing these studies, and they would be working with the city manager, trying to basically tell the city, you have to follow these goals. As are these projects you're proposing, will these match the deadlines that we have to remove and reduce our carbon footprint?
Again, guest right now, Luis Enrique Miranda, campaign manager for Ground Game Texas, talking about the proposed El Paso Climate Charter, the petition effort going on right now. So again, to find the information on that, sunriseelpaso.org, or the specific language on the climate charter proposal, ggtx.org/El Paso. We got to take that next break right now. So coming out of the break, we're going to talk more with Luis about this, where this effort stands, and what will happen next with it. So stay tuned for more on Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, this is Erica Castillo with the KFOX 14 News Update. A total of 14 undocumented migrants have been found held against their will and threatened. They were rescued by the FBI El Paso Field Office along with the Department of Public Safety and U.S. Border Patrol. The migrants were being held in an exterior structure without adequate ventilation, which is very dangerous in these temperatures. And the statewide price of gas in Texas is $4.62 for a gallon of regular, according to AAA Texas Weekend Gas Watch. That price is the highest average price AAA has ever tracked for Texas. According to AAA, that price is 28 cents more than on this day last week and $1.88 more per gallon compared to this day last year. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
No major delays on your El Paso freeways right now. Got an injury accident, Traywood at George Dieter with police on the scene. Mesa Street southbound before the I-10 at Osborne. Traffic is slowing and an accident reported there. Donovan at Sunland Park, another crash reported. And a medical emergency on Trowbridge Drive west of Chelsea at Wainwright. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Aside from moisture beginning to move out as we get into Friday, we're also going to be dealing with hotter temperatures. A heat advisory will begin Friday at noon and last until midnight on Sunday. Now, that also means that during this time period, we will experience temperatures soaring to near 107 degrees. So dangerous heat ahead, continuing for the borderland.
This report is sponsored by TxDOT. If you think you need to speed, keep in mind that officers are out in force this month, reminding drivers to slow down or pay up. It's called Operation Slowdown. Speeding can cost you time, money, and hassle. It's just not worth it. A message from TxDOT.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso. Weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you. Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
Second half of the year looking busier than the first? Hire with Indeed. Their powerful platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour. And always online at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. Of course, we've got a lot of ways you can chime in on the show. We've got our social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Well, those phone lines open a little bit later here as well, but joined here again in studio by Luis Enrique Miranda, campaign manager for El Paso for Ground Game Texas. Thanks for sticking around with us.
Hey, yeah, thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. And again, talking about that ongoing effort for the proposed climate charter as a charter amendment for the upcoming election. So just to clarify here, in case anyone is confused, we have, yes, just had those runoff primary elections, setting up what is going to be coming up here for, well, November. And so this is an effort focused on putting this onto the local November ballot as well then, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
So when we're talking about this, the letter that you sent me anyway said that's calling for 20,000 signatures from a city of El Paso voters. And to my understanding, you've actually surpassed your advanced goal of 30,000 at this point, right?
Yeah, that is correct. We're way a little over 30,000 at this point.
So the requirements here are also that there's essentially a percentage of the last presidential election voter turnout that's required here in order to, and again, this is actually a state of Texas provision on this because the city has its own changes to the charter, but these are state requirements that are then allowing for the changes to the charter to come here. So the voter turnout in the last presidential election being 269,007 votes, you have to get a percentage of that, and you have achieved that at this point, but the signature effort of registered voters does continue.
Yes, that is correct. That continues, and we need to ensure that cushion, and then there's also that verification process. Not every voter that we collect signature, not every person we collect a signature from is a registered voter. So, just want to make sure we have those extra signatures just in case.
Yeah, I cannot recall a major petition effort that has not had some level of, a verification is required, but problems with it, essentially in needing maybe more or not having enough kind of situation. So still working on that. So you're looking for another 5,000 more. What are some of the deadlines coming up for this and for then putting it onto the November ballot?
All right. So our official deadline for collecting now, we had it at May 31st, but we're announcing an extension today. So if you're listening to this, you just heard the announcement.
Mm-hmm.
June 19 is now our final turn-in date, and that is because, as referring to what you said, we do want to anticipate having a space to kind of work out any issues or litigation or whatever we have to do to ensure that it gets on the ballot in August. I think that's when they vote on the ballot, right? And they approve it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, make sure that we're on November with no problems. So we want to have June 19 as the final day, and we will be turning in those signatures to the city the following week.
I will say I was mildly surprised at the level of turnout already for this the signature drive here, just that part of it, given that, just for juxtaposition, that recent election that we had, the primary runoff had 24,000 votes cast total. So voter turnout and engagement in the community has been an issue well before this point here. So I'm just kind of curious to ask, how has this been? Because I feel like there are people who are obviously engaged in this. I'm talking with, Sunrise El Paso locally before I was aware of this specific effort. But just the kind of general consensus is that a lot of people, the vast majority of people in this region, are not involved and not considering these efforts. So how has the drive gone overall?
Yeah. So, El Paso is different from every other city in Texas. There's no major gathering points. So when you do petition gathering, you kind of have to decide quality or quantity, right? So with quality, what I mean is you go door knocking, you send out mailers like the ones you got, but they're a bit slower. But the targets are 100% registered voters. So for sure you're reaching out to solid signatures. The other strategy is identifying locations with the largest amounts of crowds possible and just canvassing those and just gathering signatures. And of course, you inform people as you're gathering, hey, this is a petition, you need to be a registered voter, but and you need to be a voter registered within city limits. That's another very important thing. So like no New Mexico voters, no voters from Horizon can decide, since it's a charter change. So of course, even with that, you end up with signatures that are not from registered voters. And so we've done that, the latter, just chasing crowds. El Paso, like I said, is different. It's not like Austin where there's these big parks where everyone gathers. It's very segmented as a city. So, we've had some locations that we could rely on. We know younger people are more inclined to be involved in environmental movements. So UTEP and EPCC, West, all the other university campuses, college campuses, those were like reliable locations when we started. Farmers markets, any kind of market, grocery stores, coffee shops, bars, even basically any place where we know El Pasoans are going to be there. We're there. We're there, and we've been there for the past few months, just gathering as many signatures as we can. Bike clubs, bike repair shops, just finding different groups that people who are in social situations, I think there's the Critical Mass, for example, was another a great location where all these bike riders who are inclined, they're inclined mountain hiking groups. churches as well have been really supportive. We've done some petition gathering through church groups, and yeah, it's just connecting with the different social elements of El Paso and going to places where we know people hang out. Even grocery stores, like I said, they've some grocery stores managers have been kind enough to let us petition inside of the building, or standing outside. So it's kind of just been throwing everything in the kitchen sink approach and just going out there and talking to people. That's how we've gotten to that 30,000.
Okay, and again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Luis Enrique Miranda, campaign manager for El Paso for Ground Game Texas, of course, talking about the proposed El Paso Climate Charter. Find out the full text of it and any of the other information. 2 websites for you to visit, ggtx.org/El Paso for Ground Game Texas, so you can see that. And of course, sunriseelpaso.org is another one that they have more of the information on, including on the main page here. So again, all of this focused on November. That's when this would be on the ballot if approved and moving forward. And again, the verification effort and all those steps to come that will continue to follow here. But kind of the underlying issue that we're really getting at here, as well as when we mentioned between the segments here as another issue, is just engagement of people in El Paso. Again, part of the reason I'm mildly surprised that you've gotten this many signatures is that people have been, it's been difficult getting people to even be willing to vote in getting out in that way, which is a arguably maybe even simpler process than being involved in a petition drive, particularly if you're having to go out and try to get other people to sign petitions. I mean, if you're just signing it and saying you're good to go, I mean, the information actually required there is a name, address, phone number, birth date, or voter registration number. So it's not like a whole lot, but I mean, you are signing your name to something, and that hopefully, I'm hoping people are reading. But then just when you're talking with people about this, and people who may not have any idea, because sure, there's plenty of people who are engaged in this kind of an effort and are engaged out in town, but that would be a certain small segment of the population. As this is now a wider effort, even just getting people willing to talk about it, I got to assume has been an issue.
It's surprisingly, I don't think so.
Really?
I think the public's been receptive. I feel like the general sense that I've gotten from, we have a team going on gathering petitions. It's not like I've been getting all 30,000 myself.
Right.
But I mean, from the people I have talked and from the feedback I've gotten through our organizers, people are fed up with the city, which makes sense, right? They're not engaged in an electoral level. And I think that's part of it, is this kind of sense of like, what the hell are they doing up there? And so I think we have people going up. We have our basic elevator pitch, right? Hey, this petitions to conserve water, to generate solar power in the city. And some people will stop you right there and they'll be like, solar power in El Paso? Yes. And they already know how much El Paso Electric uses, for example. There's some people who are a little harder to work through, and you do have that educational aspect. I think that is a challenge, especially explaining like what a ballot initiative is. We've had older folks who are concerned about scams, which makes a lot of sense too, since that is a huge problem here.
Yeah.
And so we've had people, like you said, I mean, it's not much that we're asking, but people are scared of putting their signature down because they said they've been scammed before, and I don't know exactly what they were scammed by, but those have been challenges. But for the most part, I'd say that El Pasoans are receptive. They like the idea of El Paso being a climate leader. I think when they're presented to it that way, like El Paso could be leading not just Texas but the nation in having a climate department at a local level. That excites people. Having jobs programs being built into it excites people. Getting rid of the $30. That's another thing it does, is it explicitly gets rid of that $30 fee that El Paso Electric has on solar. Some people like that, and they cling on to that, and they sign because of that. So and we've had a large percentage. Climate is viewed traditionally as this kind of like progressive or generally Democrat issue, but a huge good chunk of the people who've signed, they show up as Republican voters too. So it goes across the aisle. As far as like when you talk to individuals and what they care about, they do identify this as something they care about, even if they're voting for a party that comes off as, well, that is pretty much negligent on the topic. But I guess I'm kind of rambling here. Overall, people are receptive. I think people are excited. there is that element of confusion sometimes with some segments of the public of what is this? What's a ballot initiative? I myself, I'm 25, but throughout my whole life living here in El Paso, I have never heard of or seen a ballot initiative.
Mm-hmm.
So there is definitely that element of like, yeah, I have to explain this to you, but also isn't that exciting? And people get excited. And I think that overall, that feeling of getting El Paso to move on something is the overwhelming response. And it's people have been extremely positive. I think I've gotten like one hate email the entire time we ran this campaign, which is one too many, honestly.
Oh, interesting. And again, people can find information about this by going online, ggtx/El Paso. And again, the petition, as it is currently listed, has a petition to amend the city charter of El Paso to adopt a climate policy that would create jobs, conserve water, encourage solar power generation, and reduce the city's contribution to climate change. So again, the full text, ggtx.org/El Paso. And again, guest right now has been Luis Enrique Miranda, campaign manager for El Paso for Ground Game Texas. Again, that website, ggtx.org/El Paso, as well as sunriseelpaso.org, involved in some of the local efforts is where you can find that. So Luis, thank you very much for coming and talking with us a bit about the effort, what it means, how it works, and what people might expect to see coming up here before too long here today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. And if anyone has any more questions, you can also email me at Luis, Luis, @groundgametexas.org.
All right, appreciate it. So we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will, of course, go ahead and open up those phone lines as we do. So if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM, the number to dial there. We have more of the comments, calls, and all that good stuff coming up after this break with more on Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for a multi-vehicle accident I-10 eastbound at Artcraft. All lanes are open, but you can expect slowing and a slight backup right now. Donovan at Sunland Park, an accident reported. Another crash reported Mesa Street southbound before the I-10 at Osborne. And a medical emergency, Trowbridge west of Chelsea at Wainwright Drive. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Don't let breakfast be boring when it could be better. Wendy's Breakfast Baconator will have you feeling sunny side up all day long. Wake up to fresh cracked eggs, savory sausage, and oven-baked bacon, of course. Order it and start looking forward to tomorrow morning at participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours only.
Hey, it's Maura Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
When it comes to shopping for windows and doors, we've done the research for you and only carry the best. Choose Milgard at the Window Depot. The pros at the Window Depot are here to help with an array of choices from Milgard. Everything from in-stock windows and doors to custom orders. Milgard offers vinyl, fiberglass, and aluminum products built to your specifications. Visit thewindowdepot.com to find a location near you. That's thewindowdepot.com. Our stores are open Monday through Saturday, but we also offer online ordering and no-contact delivery. The Window Depot, Arizona's largest supplier of Milgard windows.
As the country bounces back from COVID and mask mandates are lifted, your business needs a lift too. Promote your company right here, right now. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM and FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Overcoming drug addiction was difficult, but I found the path to recovery that worked for me. The road to recovery is different for everyone. Find the path that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
The El Paso History Show with Andrew J. Polk is 10 a.m. this Saturday about the Shakespeare, New Mexico ghost town and how it was part of El Paso's Old West life. The El Paso History Show is sponsored by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant in Cañutillo, Mission Del Rey Southwest for gifts and decor, and by M1EP Management Corporation, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on News Radio 690 and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube.
Staples Print and Marketing Services help small business print big with wide format signs and banners. Right now, get $10 off custom printed signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. Offer ends 7/2. Visit staples.com/this is your sign for details. This is your sign to print big at Staples.
Comfort Keepers Las Cruces is now hiring. Call 575-521-4400.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. I've been talking a lot about the issues affecting us in the borderland today. So again, our guest from this previous segment here, of course, with Ground Game Texas. If you want to find out, I know some in the comments already been pulling out some quotations from that. Some questioning exactly what's going on there. I mean, this is our standard interview length. If you go back and see most of ours, tend to go across the way we are in this format now. But a lot of commentary otherwise, that's the entire point here, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that finding out about things and then discussing them ever so slightly our focus here. One of the questions that came up earlier that I want to make sure we didn't miss out on during the first part of the segment here, Billy Crossland asking, what is climate justice? And so going over to their page, quoting directly from them, on the, again, roughly 6-page actual charter that the petition is going towards, under Section 9.2 definitions, Item C, climate justice, ensuring that historically underserved communities do not bear a disproportionate share of the negative impacts of climate change, while at the same time investing in those same communities as part of the work to respond to climate change, mitigate its impacts, and build an environmentally sustainable society. For purposes of this analysis, quote, further quote, end quote, historically underserved communities, end quote, includes Black, Indigenous, and people of color, people with disabilities, and people living at or below the poverty line, end quotation from the document there. So we'll talk a lot more about that in the coming segment. But of course, we do have that phone line open right now. We do have Jeff on the west side here with us right now. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good afternoon, Andrew.
Afternoon there. What's on your mind?
Listening to what he was having to say there, it really has me pretty concerned. I mean, the easiest way to pass off poison to somebody is wrap it in candy. And when you sit there and talk about, we're going to take away $30 from El Paso Electric, okay, that's great. Well, there's your candy. But what about the rest of this? I mean, he's talking about a watchdog organization. Watchdog organization is not just another arm of the government. And El Pasoans are already screaming over high property taxes as it is. And now you're looking about changing the charter and adding another arm of the government, which really you're going to have the government watch the government to make sure the government's not doing something wrong? That doesn't work. In addition to that, you got to look at the fact that, sure, you saved $30 through El Paso Electric, which I'm all for. That's awesome. But how many hundreds of dollars are you going to now pay the city of El Paso because now you just expanded the local government and now your tax dollars are going to go up? He said specifically that the budget would go between the city manager and this chairperson or whoever this is, the head of this new climate control initiative locally. And I'm all for cleaning up our environment and climate taking care of, being a good steward of our climate. But the things that he's proposing there, El Pasoans are screaming in the pocketbook right now. The last thing they need is another government arm just trying to take, prying more money out of their wallet. And that's exactly what this will do. Exactly what this will do.
I think there's some interesting points you're making there. Tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this next break, we'll get into some of the terms here, including especially that impact on city decisions you were mentioning there, but we got to get it so we can hit the top of the hour here. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for a multi-vehicle accident I-10 eastbound at Artcraft. All lanes are open, but you can expect slowing and a slight backup right now. Donovan at Sunland Park, an accident reported. Another crash reported Mesa Street southbound before the I-10 at Osborne. And a medical emergency
News on the
Trowbridge
hour
west
and a
of
half.
Chelsea
Traffic
at Wainwright
and
Drive.
weather all
Carrie
day.
Edwards, El
News
Paso
Radio
traffic.
690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. A report says 3 people are dead after a shooting at a Maryland manufacturing plant. Fox 5 DC says it happened at Columbia Machine in Smithsburg, which is about 75 miles west of Baltimore. Other reports say the suspected shooter was shot and injured during a confrontation with a Maryland State Police trooper. The lawyer for the family of a black man shot and killed by police in Michigan says this is the first time he's ever seen an officer charged after a line of duty shooting.
The Michigan State Police doing an investigation clearly led to these charges, which tells you they felt this was what's called, sorry folks, a bad shoot.
Ben Johnson spoke after second-degree murder charges were announced against Officer Christopher Schur for the death of Patrick Loyola. He says a big reason he believes charges were filed is because body and cruiser cam video were made public. President Biden says the rioters who stormed the Capitol last year tried to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Biden made that remark as the committee investigating the events of January 6th, 2021 is holding its first primetime hearing tonight. A pair of Connecticut families is suing the state over the repeal of a law allowing for religious exemptions to childhood vaccines. Lisa Taylor reports.
The plaintiffs filed suit on behalf of their kids, claiming they have a constitutional right to an education and want to be able to register them for school this fall without the required vaccines. Democratic Governor Ned Lamont signed the repeal last year, which means only medical exemptions are accepted in the state. New York, Maine, and California have also repealed religious exemption laws. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The head of schools in the Texas town of Uvalde is addressing concerns following the recent mass shooting at a local elementary school. Hal Harrell says the fate of Robb Elementary is unclear. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Maryland's governor is calling for a criminal investigation after an audit allegedly revealed a massive grade-fixing scheme within Baltimore City public schools. Governor Larry Hogan today referred the audit to the Maryland State Prosecutor and the Maryland U.S. Attorney's Office for possible prosecution. The state audit released Tuesday found more than 12,500 grades had been changed from failing to passing between 2016 and 2020. 3 children are recovering at Atlantic City Medical Center after allegedly being left in a car while their mom shopped. Liz Warner reports.
New Jersey authorities accusing a woman and a teen of leaving the woman's toddler and 2 babies inside a hot car for 45 minutes while they shopped in an Egg Harbor Walmart Wednesday. It was 86 degrees out when police discovered the 3-year-old, the 1-year-old, and 5-month-old locked inside the car with the windows up. They were able to use a lockout kit to rescue the trio. Both the mother and teen were arrested and charged with child welfare endangerment, and the children are expected to be okay.
A new documentary on John Lennon is premiering tomorrow night at the Tribeca Film Festival. Lisa G. has the details.
The documentary, called The Lost Weekend, A Love Story, explores the relationship Lennon had with a woman named May Pang while he was still married to Yoko Ono.
She was the one who came into my office one morning and said, I think you need a boyfriend and I think you should go out with John. And I just sort of looked at her and said, I can.
Pang worked with both Lennon and Ono and is opening up 50 years later to set the record straight.
Nearly 100 letters written by Anne Frank's father are now in the care of the University of South Carolina. The university's Anne Frank Center announced the donation yesterday, just days before what would have been Anne Frank's 93rd birthday. Kara Wilson Granite donated the letters she received from Otto Frank after she began writing to him when she was 12 in 1957. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance at a trip to our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword Vegas to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's Vegas to 200-200.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. This Father's Day, treat Dad to gifts he wants at Lowe's, like saving $60 on your choice of DeWalt 20-volt max brushless drill or impact driver kit. Was $159, now $99. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, valid 6/9 to 6/15.
M1EP.com, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
They're here, circling over your head.
and are tracking you down. You feel overwhelmed, like you can't escape. You need a solution to get your back taxes filed, to put your life back on track. You need someone who can keep the vultures at bay and work directly with the IRS to leverage every opportunity to settle your debt. Edward Areola of United Financial Services is licensed to represent you before the IRS. Don't let the IRS threaten you. You should never need to speak to them directly. Edward does that for you. United Financial Services will help settle your entire IRS tax debt for up to 85% off the original amount owed, including penalties and interest if you qualify. United Financial Services, family owned in El Paso, can be a lifesaver for you. Call 915-500-3255, 915-500-3255, or go to unitedfinancialep.com. Call 915-500-3255 now.
Are you ready for summer? Wherever summer takes you, make sure you take your favorite radio station with you on your adventures with the free iHeartRadio app. That's right. No matter how far from home you travel, this station, the music you love, and the best podcasts in the world will be right there with you in your pocket.
Summer soundtrack.
Sunscreen, flip-flops, and the free iHeart app. Must-haves for any summer checklist. Download the free iHeartRadio app and discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love this summer.
iHeartRadio.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. If you're ever wondering why it might be worth your while to look at us over on the social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, it's because apparently sometimes the button press to take us to the slide for the break there doesn't always happen. And, well, I'll get just call it another level of transparency. I totally planned this. Apparently was up for most of the break there. Hope I didn't do anything too embarrassing. But otherwise, we are, of course, back on the air and talking about the issues affecting us here in the borderland. Again, thanks to our guest from the previous hour, Mr. Miranda, with Ground Game Texas, talking about that item that, one of the major reasons to discuss it, whether you agree with it or not, is that it's a strong possibility, at least according to their own information, that it will be on the ballot, and something that you might need to know about as it comes up further in either city council decisions or towards November. And I will say that even since we recorded that interview, I've actually been approached out in the wild, so to speak, about signing the petition, because I was out at not too far down the street from our studios here on North Mesa, and asked if I would sign it. And I said, well, as a member of the media, I don't sign petitions, but also I think we're already talking with y'all, kind of thing. And actually, as of today, found out about another set of, petitions going around as I was out at a different restaurant a little bit closer to downtown here today, from the El Pasoans for Fair Elections, a few propositions they got up. So we might discuss those a little bit. James Black was letting us know, who let me know ever so graciously that the video was still on, as I had not noticed. It would be more entertaining during the commercials, especially during the news break. We sometimes have looked at doing more stuff during the break. It's just not feasible at the moment. I know that some of our other shows, they'll actually do that. So it's worth tuning into the live streams is all I'm saying there. Calvin Williams saying, but on the issue that we're discussing there, on the one that is possible to be on the ballot, saying, why vote on it? It's from the left and costs money. Our city council will approve it. Again, I believe the issue is for it to be a ballot initiative, to actually then go onto it. And one of the other questions that had come up among many, there are a lot of comments that have come in on the social media, and a lot of people dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate that, including Flor Miranda, Michael Perez, Phyllis Turner Kincaid, Calvin Williams, Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. But one of the earlier questions, and I've lost it in the stream, y'all have a lot of commentary on this, and that's why we'll also be getting to those phone lines full up at the moment. But if you want to try a little bit later, that number to call, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. The actual kind of, besides organization, which we got into a little bit, one of the further parts of the proposition and charter amendment that would come along with it, as being proposed by this group as part of the El Paso Climate Charter, Section 9.5, Climate Impact of City Decisions. The climate director shall provide the city council with a climate impact statement prior to any city council vote affecting the city's climate policy. Decisions that require a climate impact statement shall include, but not be limited to, adoption of the city budget and any amendments thereto, zoning decisions, right-of-way permits, new and expanded streets, roads, highways, bridges, and other significant infrastructure, capital improvement projects, including proposed capital improvements put to the public in the form of bond issues, new subdivision approvals, and procurement decisions. So I know that's long and complicated, which is why we gave it that email or other website a few times so you can go and see it for yourself. I know that some, such as Michael Perez, were pulling out some quotations from it here, even if you said that he's had about enough discussion for that today. I mean, that's your prerogative, but I guess this falls into my category of forewarned is forearmed, whether you find yourself for or against or somewhere in between, knowing what's actually a part of it. Well, knowing is half the battle, to quote an increasingly aged PSA. And just a lot more commentary on all this here. But let's again get to those phone lines. Of course, that number to call 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. I'm just looking at the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. And it says that how El Paso ranks. And one of the things there they say on this is that the city climate mitigation goal. City does not have a community-wide energy reduction goal. City doesn't have anything on it. Renewable energy goal. City hasn't voted on it. Doesn't care about it. Equity-driven community. Equity-driven decisions. Equity accountability. Clean distributed energy resources. Mitigation of heat islands. None of these things. Absolutely nothing. UHI and mitigation goal. Nothing. We have already city council, our city government, our county government. They are answerable to us. Mm-hmm. We want to keep it that way. These people can come in and they're going to have this initiative. They're counting on a bunch of people going to the polls, knowing that El Paso has a very low voter turnout, just like we do for school board initiatives and everything else. And so the only people that vote for the school board initiatives are the people, the teachers, the people that will get the raises and everything else. These people are counting on those people coming out in droves and making it to where everybody has to go along with the climate problem. And there is no climate problem. It is not. There's no climate emergency right now. We have plenty of time to take care of things, but this is going to take an end. If it turns out that we're going to have an equity situation and everything, where they're going to put a whole bunch more taxes and everything on people that can afford to stay here, in order to keep, where doesn't affect the people, that can't afford it. Those people are going to move out of this city, and then what do you'll have? You'll have a bunch of poor people that can't take care of themselves.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I think that for most people coming down to, okay, even if they may or may not like the actual goals put here, what is the impact going to be to them? And if taxes end up going up along with it, I know there's been seemingly more conversation along the lines of just in general public conversations I've had with people off our air as well about the taxing level of the city, and that we have some of the highest tax rate in the state. That I feel like is coming up more and more. So if people end up finding out that this is something that may affect that in the negative to their viewpoints, I feel like that would more color the conversation. I guess I was to your initial point there about who would actually turn out and vote on this. The fact that they've gotten, according to their own actual, assertion, and we won't know for sure until they've turned in all of their signatures, which should be coming up here shortly, what they've actually gotten the turnout, and then there will be, further verification and steps to go through, but that they have actually outstripped the countywide voter turnout of this most recent election. Yes, it was a runoff and a primary and an off season. Yeah. But still, the idea that they've even been able to organize that much, I guess I found that very interesting to know what level of engagement is, at least in some standpoint, required to, get voters to even do as much as a signature.
Don't you think that if this was front and center on everybody's minds here in El Paso, that they would have initiatives brought up before the city council and everything in the county, these people are doing exactly what Biden is doing. They're creating a problem that isn't there, and therefore they're going to rule the way they want to, and change society the way they want it to be changed. One other thing, real quick. Did you hear tonight there's going to be lions, bears, elephants, jugglers, clowns, and little buses and everything? They're going to have a really wonderful clown show production on tonight. Everybody should watch it.
I believe you're talking about it'll be airing at 6 p.m. I halfway thought you were going to do the lions and tigers and bears on my line, but I get what you're getting at there with the idea of what, of course, will be on the prime time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, to my understanding, broadcast of those congressional hearings. I will, of course, be paying attention and may or may not be heavily inebriated during it. We'll see how you'll be able to tell by my tone of voice tomorrow, I think.
Okay. Anyway, I'll sign off. It was nice talking to you.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for the point. Do appreciate it. I mean, again, that is kind of the reason we do these interviews the way that we do, in order to have some discussion on it. There is almost no interview that we have presented on here, except for like literal partners that we have, which we make it very clear when that is, that I am like, yes, 100%, let's do this. Most of the time it's okay, that's interesting. Let's delve further into it. And again, the beauty of the way, at least I hope the beauty, I find it beautiful anyway, the way we do this is then to allow for there to be response to it, and then say what you feel about it. Because sure, there's a lot of other programs out there that one way, what we put out is what you're going to get, and you better just take it or find something else. But the response here, which is part of the reason we take the comments that we do, and we've had, again, a lot. I can't even get to all of them here. I mean, there's just been so much during this program so far, and a lot more questions about the part of it. But there was one point that was made here that that I have to get to, because it's gonna stick with me. I'll have to find it maybe here in a minute. The idea that, well, he has a voice and we don't, and I gotta tell you, that's maybe a slight misunderstanding of how we do this, because the entire point is that, yeah, you can call in, comment, and be a part of the discussion on this, and not just let it go by you and have to kind of sit back and take it. That's at least part of the point here. We got time for, I think it's one more call before we hit that next break. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, and thank you. Be careful what you all sign. Okay, I was approached by one of those individuals for a signature for petition to get this thing on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and none of this stuff was explained. I took it upon myself to go online and look into it. And I don't know if he brought up the fact that one of the things is turning El Paso Electric into a municipal utility.
Yeah, I don't think we got to that exactly in this interview, but yes, that is certainly a proposal part of it that will then direct, let me see if I can find the part of it here, but to my recollection, actually trying to municipalize El Paso Electric, turn it into, and have the city manager do efforts. Oh yeah, Section 9.10, Municipalization of El Paso Electric. The City of El Paso shall employ all available efforts to convert El Paso Electric to municipal ownership. In consultation with the Climate Director, the City Manager shall provide the City Council with an annual report to describe the feasibility of converting El Paso Electric into a municipal electric company, including any actions required to advance this objective. So yes, it is very much a part of it. You are correct.
Be very careful, okay? Because some of your other callers have said, is this is creating a brand new government bureaucracy that'll create more taxes. What's going to happen to businesses like Marathon Oil and Refining, and think about new businesses wanting to come into El Paso.
Yeah, and I know some have at least brought up, I think Catherine Coder brought up the ESG scores as a part of this. So a lot of commentary and a lot of potentials on this. But yeah, just it's good life advice, regardless of if it's a petition or not. Know what the hell you're signing before you put your name on it. That's just good life advice.
Yes, and some of the people that I saw were signing this without even asking any questions. Okay. Also, this what justice? What did you say about justice?
Yeah, climate justice is one of their stated, at least like at the top of the actual petition goals here. And so we delved a little bit into it further, what it actually defines that as part of the laid out climate charter as they currently have it envisioned.
Yes, I read that. I just couldn't remember the title, but
Mhm.
I read that and had to go through it, read it at least 4 or 5 times because on its face value, it is confusing to me. And finally, I figured it out. All it is it looks like, and I say again, it looks like a redistribution of wealth.
Okay, well, this is why I fully encourage people to take a look at these things because, again, I think it's, at the very least, until proven otherwise, this seems like it might end up on the ballot, so it might be something that people have to vote on, and given the complexity of the nature, I mean, it's literally a long, if you print it out, it comes out to roughly 6 pages, as mentioned there, so it's not exactly a simple thing, but could be very impactful if people don't know what it means and what they're voting on.
Okay, another thing, they talk about these analysis that they want
Mhm.
city government to do. Folks, all that stuff costs money.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, literally part of it is in creating of the actual department here is providing it with staffing and resources. So, yep, this will end up being an effect on the bottom line, at least initially. I'm sure that there is some talk about maybe savings in the long run, but I think in any short term or any particular term of office, shall we say, this would definitely be something where it would be adding to the balance sheet, not removing.
Yes, but what I was saying is, they want this office. They want this particular. This office wants the city council to engage in analysis before they implement certain
yep.
projects. Well, okay, don't you have to hire outside firms to do that?
Quite possibly. I think as a previous commenter mentioned, the idea of watchdog being inside the government often necessitates an outside view and maybe an oxymoron, as it were. But yeah, again, there's a lot of particulars here that are worth discussing and debating, particularly if we're going to end up voting on it. We'll be sure to update this as we get further along and see if this is going to end up either in city council votes or something that ends up on the ballots, because this is not the absolute first time that I've seen a ballot initiative in my life end up in El Paso. The first time I want to say probably was with the Lost Dog Trail. But this is not even the first petition I've been approached by in the last couple of weeks. So this might be more of a trend for things to be happening this way in El Paso. I mean, I don't know if 2 instances make a trend, but hey, it's a hell of a lot more than I've ever seen it before.
Yes. Well, last note. Hey, folks, be careful because what you don't know can hurt your pocketbook. Ask questions.
Yep. Just ask anyone strolling through a minefield that didn't know it. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Likewise. Mike, is back to you.
Appreciate it there. We got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we are certainly going to be talking further about this and all the other things affecting us here in the borderland. So if you want to call in on the line yourself, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Mesa Street, an accident is off to the right shoulder there. I-10 eastbound at Artcraft, a 4-vehicle accident is all off to the left, stay to the right. Lee Trevino Drive, northbound at Yermo Land Drive, an injury accident, and downtown, west of downtown area at West San Francisco and Caldwell, and a collision there. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, Democrats are demanding new gun control laws that wouldn't have prevented the shooting in Texas, as Republicans are saying it's time to arm teachers that want special training. So who's going to win this battle? I'll tell you. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
Hello, my name is Scott Burns, and I served in the Marines from 1991 to 1995. I received an injury while I was in the Marines, which led to an amputation. Purport Homes came in and fixed my house and made it handicap accessible. I don't have enough time to tell you how much of a difference Purport Homes made in my life, but they gave me security and peace of mind. Thank you, Purport Homes, for what you've done to change my life.
Texas has 187 disabled and aging veterans requesting assistance from Purple Heart Homes. Donate now at purplehearthomesusa.org.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer: regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is a leading cancer killer, but it can be prevented with regular screening starting at 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today. Visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
You know when you see a great deal on the phone and then you find out it's not for you? Not at Verizon.
They just gave us all a new iPhone 13.
So we both got the same great deal.
Yep.
Get iPhone 13 on us with select trade-in and 5G unlimited plans for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love. Only from Verizon. $799.99, 128 gigabytes only. Device payment purchase with new or upgrade smartphone line required. Less up to $800 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, even as we're coming down towards the bottom of the hour of the second hour of the program. We'll squeeze in as much as we can, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Find us on those platforms, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, as well as a lot of comments coming in there. You can see the full show. And that phone line, full up now, but of course we'll be taking them through the end of the program. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. But don't forget about the other ways you can get at us. If you're not imagining to get on the line exactly when you want to, you can always leave us a message either through the pound 250 system or the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. And there's another good reason you might want to consider that. It's pretty simple. Just download the app, listen to us through there, and if you're listening to the station, just hit that little microphone button and you can leave us a 30-second message. And by doing that, you'll also be entered to win in the Father's Day giveaway brought to you by, of course, News Radio 690 KTSM and Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. I've been talking with you a lot about their great services, something I just all the hair in my head, as, of course, the official hair and beard sponsor of the show. But you got their $100 gift card giveaway just for leaving your message through the iHeartRadio app. So just download it on your smart device, leave your message there, and you will be entered to win our drawing. So, of course, we'll be bringing you more of those messages. But let's get back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Raul Northeast on the line here with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. A good guess. Right on to that, brother. Someone doing something in an effort to make things better for his community. Yay for him. Well, tonight is a historic night with the greatest show on earth brought to us from the United States Congress and Speaker Pelosi, who was almost taken out by Trump's mob. You know, Andrew, you repeatedly have said that you think a thorough investigation of the January 6th events should be done, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I can't believe that you don't think that Trump bears responsibility for the attack. And tonight's hearings are a step in that direction of holding Trump accountable to justice. Now, the betting is that the disclosures are going to put a lot of pressure on the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to open an investigation based on the commission's work. That's what I want to see. That's Trump's nightmare. And the nightmare of his cult members. I'm betting that that's going to happen, and I can hardly wait. Now, so me being a student of history, of politics, of current events, being someone who wants to know what's going on, I'm looking forward to watching the most consequential congressional hearings in this baby boomer's lifetime. And the people who don't want to watch it are the same people who don't want all of America's history taught, the good and the bad, to students in school. These are your deniers of reality in the Republican Party who want to remain in their little right-wing bubble where there was no attack on the Capitol, and it was just peaceful tourists. And the FBI hired Antifa crisis actors, led in by the Capitol Police, planned by the FBI, and paid by Pelosi. That's what they're talking out there in right-wing land. I recall watching the Watergate hearings, and Republican Nixon was a horrible president. He turned this. He sicked the CIA, the FBI, and the American people, on the anti-war movement, on the civil rights leaders, and he opened the door to China. Those hearings turned most Americans against him. And when I criticized Nixon, I was called a commie, an American hater, and told to return to Mexico. And when he was expelled from office, then those same people said, oh, all politicians do that. He just got caught. You know, what a bunch of hypocrites. Now, I was watching Professor Robert Pappy of the University of Chicago testify in front of the Congress, and he says there's a deadly cocktail out there right now of politicians who are spewing this great replacement theory and media figures who are incented to spread this poison. And that's leading to a rise in violent populism, moving from the fringe to Main Street. And he says the key drivers is this great replacement theory and QAnon conspiracies, that they stoke the fear that the rights of minorities will overtake the rights of whites. And he cites the January attack on the Capitol to show that these ideas are a threat to democracy. GOP Senate Minority Leader and Rhino Moscow Mitch McConnell put the responsibility on Trump. And he also said, the professor said that this shootings, what happened in Buffalo and what happened in El Paso, shows that these violent ideas are expanding beyond the electoral contest. And he's telling the nation's leaders that we need to prepare for potential political violence, more especially around this election time. And with the upcoming gatherings of pro-choice people and anti-gun supporters, this is when these nuts can come out with their mass weapons of destruction that the Republicans won't do anything to take off the streets. Most Capitol attackers in those districts have that loss of white, non-Hispanic population. That's what's driving these predominantly middle-class guys and business owners and college graduates. They're all scared of the minority. These right-wing politicians and Fox News make these claims, and that's spreading this poison out there. There are tens of millions of Americans, according to Professor Papp, about 7% of Americans, 18 million people, who say that the use of force is justified.
Let's just make it one thing very clear right now. I am never going to support the idea of political violence as opposed to literally almost anything else. Anyone who says I'm going to, vote from the rooftop, I'm going to have a bone to pick with you about what the hell you're doing in the meantime. Because, we've had literal civil wars in this country. It has come to literal blows before, and anyone jumping straight to that is, I'll just throw it all out and let's start over. Yeah, you're in the wrong. There's no other way to describe that here. But to then lump in all those people with everyone else saying that, among others, that have expressed their lack of desire to see the proceedings coming up tonight, because not so much that they fear the truth, as you're kind of describing it there, but rather they're uninterested in seeing the display of a foregone conclusion. I mean, you even elaborated on yourself there. You have come to a conclusion. You are not interested in seeking out what the fullness of the truth is. You have come to your conclusion and are looking for the evidence to support it. That is not what a full investigation is. I mean, congressional hearings, by and large, are the actual probative value of them versus the prejudicial nature of the political statements trying to be drawn out and drawn from them. Always a little bit in effect here, and you can see that throughout history in any televised or otherwise recorded broadcasted hearing. But this one does seem, again, amped up to 11 if you really want to get specific of it. So I'm not necessarily blaming anyone who doesn't want to pay attention to it or actually see it, but you got to at least know what's going on with it, which is why I am sure we will discuss that on this program tomorrow. I will be watching it as much as I am able to in these coming, this evening anyway. So, I'll be paying attention, and I do hope that there is something probative that comes out of it as an actual truth-seeking nature. I am just remaining dubious that that will be the focus of it here as an inherently political exercise. So, tell you what, thank you for the point in the call. We got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we do have more comments on the line. We do have more of the calls lined up as well. So, don't forget, you can leave those comments over through the Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app as well. But otherwise, got to take that break right now. Again, if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, this is Erica Castillo with the KFOX 14 News Update. A total of 14 undocumented migrants have been found held against their will and threatened. They were rescued by the FBI El Paso Field Office along with the Department of Public Safety and U.S. Border Patrol. The migrants were being held in an exterior structure without adequate ventilation, which is very dangerous in these temperatures. And the statewide price of gas in Texas is $4.62 for a gallon of regular, according to AAA Texas Weekend Gas Watch. That price is the highest average price AAA has ever tracked for Texas. According to AAA, that price is 28 cents more than on this day last week and $1.88 more per gallon compared to this day last year. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 westbound at Mesa Street, an accident is off to the right shoulder there. I-10 eastbound at Artcraft, a 4-vehicle accident is all off to the left, stay to the right. Lee Trevino Drive, northbound at Yermo Land Drive, an injury accident. And downtown, west of downtown area, at West San Francisco and Caldwell, and a collision there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Aside from moisture beginning to move out as we get into Friday, we're also going to be dealing with hotter temperatures. A heat advisory will begin Friday at noon and last until midnight on Sunday. Now, that also means that during this time period, we will experience temperatures soaring to near 107 degrees. So dangerous heat ahead, continuing for the borderland.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
After having children of their own, one couple decided to adopt 6 more. Hear the story of how their family became the size of a baseball team. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
The job market is competitive right now, so you need to be competitive to attract top talent. If you're trying to fill open positions at your business, iHeartMedia is here to help. Use radio and digital targeting to find fresh, passive candidates currently in the workforce. These candidates are listening right now, looking for new opportunities. Together, we can let the community know you're hiring. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Are you a safe driver? Are you looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today. This report is sponsored by Allstate.
Over-the-counter pain medications can be bought without a prescription and are intended to reduce fever and temporarily relieve minor aches and pains. There are 2 main types of over-the-counter pain medicines, acetaminophen and NSAIDs. Although both types of pain medications treat the same symptoms, they work in different ways and have different risks and benefits. That's why it's important to always read and follow the drug facts label on your medicine. If you have any questions, ask your healthcare professional or pharmacist.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. James Radcliffe letting us know that he's frustrated with Twitch here on Twitch too, and that the J6 video he's referencing there as well. I mean, there are pros and cons for just about any platform we're on besides our own airwaves these days, and even then there are some specifics we have to go with. So we're on all those platforms in order to make it accessible wherever you're able to, not banned, etc. So you don't have to go to any particular one. As long as, I guess, you're engaged and paying attention, that's good enough for me here. And a lot more comments coming in there about some of these situations. Fred Marquez, RJ, Kathy Codry, James Ratcliffe, Calvin Williams, I mentioned there, who said, an interesting one there. I'd be for illegals crossing the border if they all brought 5 gallons of gas. We've seen some interesting things going on with gas prices across the border here, though it's not quite as prevalent. I think people trying to cross for cheaper gas, given that you then have to wait several hours in line at the bridge, kind of almost defeating the purpose. But also just that specific, given this heat right now, that just sounds like napalm with extra steps. I don't know. But we got a lot more comments coming in there, and of course, dropping those reacts over on the page that we do appreciate. Flo Miranda, Michael Perez, Phyllis Turner Kincaid, Calvin Williams, Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. Appreciate all of that. More comments than we can ever really get to in a show here, particularly today. A lot of people riled up. The Skeptic Squad out in force over there on the Facebook page. So if you want to check it out for yourself, facebook.com/Talk El Paso would be more or less the main one. But we got them all up there for that purpose. So let's go back to those phone lines right now. We do have Daniel over in Central on the line with us right now. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Yes, I don't know what is he in La La Land, Miranda, do you have a brain? Think about it is that ownership of El Paso Electric Company would only cost more to the people, as if, I have a house and, I own a house and it's, and, it really, you get irritated and angry when they just raise your, your taxes. And I think this is what he's going to do. And he ought to think about the people that work for the refinery, Is that what he wants? People to leave El Paso and the owner of that refinery to pack up his bags and go somewhere else where he'll be allowed to have, to hire people? How about the trucking companies? Why doesn't he go talk to them? This guy doesn't have to me, I think he's a moron. He doesn't have a brain to think about it. I don't want to see people lose their jobs, and I don't want to see any more. I don't want to see, my bills go up because, like I do believe that somebody, Big Brother, will be watching us even more. I wish you would realize that the other day I was walking around Arizona, Stanton, or just around the area around El Paso High, and I saw so many apartments for rent. Mm-hmm. That never used to happen. Now, people are moving. That's true. And I'm more in touch with reality than this guy. Sir, not you, Mr. Polk, but the guy that can talk, I think the guy's a moron, and I won't sign the petition, and he would show it to me. I would just tear it up, and, that's what I would do. Have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point there. Of course, you're entitled to make your decision on a petition or not. The interesting reason I brought it up here is because this might end up on the ballot. So, forewarned, forearmed, like it or not, at least you know about it, I guess, is something I'd like to hope would come out of this. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines. I was again, thank you for the point in the call. We got another call on the line here. We do have Marco over in Central here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. How's it going?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Hey, so I don't know where to begin here. Whenever I call you, I like to get to certain points, but there's so many to make. So we'll hit Raul real quick. Raul is like your typical NPC, programmable. One day it's gay pride, the next day it's insurrection, the next day it's Vladimir Putin. And so, he's typical of any Democrat that exists out there today. They live in a fictitious world of Trump's going to get caught finally and he's going to go to jail. And it's like, bro, what world do you live in? Nobody gives a damn about the insurrection. What we care about is gas, food, money. That's what we care about. The other thing about your gentleman that you had talking about these climate initiatives that are to change the charter. First off, I don't have the money for that. If you're in El Paso with money, I would find a way to sue this organization and get information where their main money is coming from, who's funding them. Because I guarantee you, this initiative that he's pushing isn't the only one in this city. Those are organized charters in order to diminish the power of the city council and the city manager, which I think we shouldn't even have a city manager. The city council should do their job. It's just, but that's another conversation to be had.
Fair enough.
Secondly, though, real quick, lastly, actually,
Mhm.
the problem with having the climate conversation is this. Go up to about 100 people and ask them this question. Are we talking about carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide? How many people do you think would tell you, oh, it's, of course, carbon monoxide. It sounds horrible. Of course it's horrible. You die. But that's not what we're talking about. In fact, nobody that's involved in the conversation of if there is climate change, okay? There's no definitive proof because, first off, I do recognize that we have 4 seasons. There's winter, fall, summer. There are 4 seasons. The sun does go around the earth, or the earth goes around the sun, and so we do have different seasons that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not even the conversation. The reason they say CO2 or carbon is because the biggest generator of energy in the world is water. And so, quite frankly, what they're talking about when they're talking about carbon dioxide, not carbon monoxide, is the condensation that you breathe out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
The food that gives oxygen to us. We breathe out carbon dioxide, plants take it in and breathe, and in return, we get oxygen. What happens as the amount of CO2 in the planet diminishes? Well, the planet turns into what it wants to be, a desert. That's what happens. Look at Mars. I'm pretty sure, they've seen signs of water.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure at one point, maybe billions of years ago, the planet actually had water. Maybe there was a forest. But the CO2 amount, I guarantee you, if we do research there, you're going to find the amount of CO2 is so minimal that planet is dying. And that's what basically, their solutions aren't even catered towards CO2. They're saying, give us money for carbon credits.
Mm-hmm.
or solar panels. And it's like, well, hold on. You're telling me that taxes and money are going to solve the climate change? It isn't, because you don't even know what you're talking about. If you're telling me that fresh water going into the ocean is causing dramatic climate change, I don't know. They made a movie of this called The Day After Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They actually explain it to you. But people don't take it seriously, or it's just, again, for the NPCs. Today it's climate change. Tomorrow it's the gun initiative. You know what? I will say this, and I put this at the foot of the Democrat Party, because they've bred a bunch of stupid people in this world. And El Pasoans, again, I said it last week, and I'm going to leave you with this. You get what you deserve. When you start paying $8, $9, $10 a gallon, I'm not going to feel it because I got money. I can ride out the storm. But I'm going to laugh hard, because when you're sitting there in your home going, man, do we get food or do we get gas? And by the way, I'm going to go vote for Joe Biden again. Go for it, because your misery makes me happy. And the Democrat Party can go to hell.
All right. Well, thank you for the point in the call there. Do appreciate it. I guess one finer point has been made in the comments as well, is that I wouldn't say that no one cares about the January 6th committee. Clearly, someone cares about it. At least, networking execs believe someone do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bothering. But I will agree with you that I think a lot more people, at least in El Paso, care about the basics, like you said, gas prices, and there at the end as well. Gas prices, the impact they have on them. I mean, the basics of living tend to be very persuasive to people in determining whether they're happy or not. If they have them, unhappiness tends to increase. So I think that's, I hate to think of it in terms of points of pain for people getting politically involved, but that's why, again, I was mildly interested in this whole petition effort on that level of the actually getting people involved, even just to get a signature out of them, because if you had told me before I was made aware of this, that, hey, you're going to get 30,000 signatures on a petition, I would have laughed you out of the room. I wouldn't have believed it, because the fact of people not being involved just in general is almost built into El Paso right now. But I will agree with you that, yeah, the basics of life are tend to be a lot more persuasive people and actually getting them involved here. Catherine Coder saying that she does care about the truth and facts about January 6th here. Some other interesting comments in here. Agree with getting Sean Gardner saying, agree with getting rid of a city manager. The El Paso taxpayers can't afford a city manager's wages or the additional bovine eliminations, what I'm going to choose to say, projects as the city manager creates. But this guy wants to add a whole other department to our local government to take more tax dollars from the citizens here. Interesting standpoint here. And then over on the Twitch, just being brought up here, Relax Son saying, big brain scientist calling in today. And I think you can take that as you want to. And one other item being brought up here, RJ and Catherine Codry mentioning over on the YouTube page about, that was a Merrill incident in Maryland that I'm sure you will be getting from the top of the news updates here. I think we got time to hit one more call before we hit that next break now. We do have Kevin on the east side with us right now. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm not a scientist, and I'm sure I'll get criticized on this, but it just seems to me that the advocates of this climate change agenda, Green New Deal and all this are all on the left. And if it's a real problem, then we should all be involved in this thing. But it seems that they don't want to be that way. The other thing is that when they talk about restricting things in El Paso because we have to clean up the air, we have got to clean up the water. Okay, we're not really one city. We're together with Juarez, and I'm not casting aspersions on Juarez. What I'm saying is that the Juarez area and El Paso area are basically one.
Yes, absolutely.
And, don't tell us, okay, we got to restrict ourselves here, and then Juarez doesn't do anything, or vice versa. So, that's just about all I wanted to say, Andrew. Thank you very much.
No, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. Yeah, there is a, I hope it didn't get lost in the move. No, it actually does still hang in my parents' house. Actually, this great satellite map of our region from, I don't know what orbit it's from. I'm not that kind of a scientist either, but it is just complete, just imaging, no map overlays, no lines, no nothing. And it very well demonstrates how literally connected this area is. And that's, I think, one of the reasons we talk about that a lot here, as much as there are other designs, needs, etc., often put onto this. I mean, El Paso and Juarez, and even getting up to Las Cruces, though it's a bit extended out. El Paso, Juarez, let's stick with that for now. If you look at it on a map and you don't know personally where exactly to look, you are going to be hard-pressed to find that exact dividing line from that, again, very zoomed-out satellite view. I mean, if you go onto like Google Maps, like I'm looking at right now, they've got the boundaries, they've got the lines, you can see everything there. But if you didn't know exactly what you were looking at and how to delineate it, you'd be a little bit hard pressed to. And that's just a fact of the matter of it. So to say that, yeah, only one side of it affects it. I mean, El Paso is even a minority of the population of that region. So to say that, I mean, there are not even some things in that proposal I'm entirely opposed to, but I think that going forward with it without any recognition of the challenges that would come with it or the issues that could be caused would be a mistake at the very least. And yeah, I do recall in a similar way, kind of putting it to there, that there was a phrase I remember growing up, the Juarez flu of sometimes the crud that comes across. I'm not sure if that's considered a correct phrase anymore, but it sticks in my mind anyway. So appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. We got to hit that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll get to at least one of those recorded calls and more to what we got coming up for you on the show and a whole lot more. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Medical crews and police responding to a crash eastbound Paisano at the southbound 110. An accident blocking the left shoulder on the 10 westbound at Mesa Street. It's a multi-vehicle crash off to the left. I-10 eastbound at Artcraft, 4 vehicles involved in an earlier crash that's all off to the left. And I-10 westbound at Airway. Look for a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Carrie Edwards, El Paso Traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, Democrats are demanding new gun control laws that wouldn't have prevented the shooting in Texas, as Republicans are saying it's time to arm teachers that want special training. So who's going to win this battle? I'll tell you. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
You know about our great deals on windows and doors. And now the Window Depot has everything for your complete home remodel. The Window Depot is a one-stop warehouse with the lowest prices and biggest inventory on in-stock butcher block, granite and quartz countertops, plus flooring and tile to finish your project. We also offer a huge selection of in-stock cabinets, or our designers can special order your cabinetry in a variety of colors and styles. Stores are open Monday through Saturday, but we also offer online ordering and no contact delivery. The Window Depot, more than a window store.
You know when you see a great deal on the phone and then you find out it's not for you? Not at Verizon.
They just gave us all a new iPhone 13.
So we both got the same great deal.
Yep.
Get iPhone 13 on us with select trade-in and 5G unlimited plans for every customer, current, new, everyone, to show the love. Only from Verizon. $799.99, 128 gigabytes only, device payment purchase with new or upgrade smartphone line required. Less up to $800 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We have covered quite a lot of ground here today, and of course, we'll continue to do so every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Tomorrow, very special day, as it always is, though there might be some other meetings some are taking from that. It's Friday, and we do Free for All Friday on those days at the end of the week because, well, I think we need to, and this week is going to be of particular importance. We're taking your comments and calls throughout both hours of the show, stretching outside a little bit more than even we've stretched it a little bit this week from our usual focus of effects on the borderland here. So you can also, of course, get your messages ahead of that. Don't forget about the talkback feature over on the iHeartRadio app when you're on our page, as well as some of those recorded calls, including one that we have from Frankie here that is not loading at the moment. So, okay, we'll get to that. Essentially, the gist was what's going on with gun laws, and would it make more sense to be doing it as a parliamentary procedure kind of thing, put it straight to the American voters. So I don't know if that'll be totally feasible, but I'll play it at the start of the show tomorrow since it messed up here today. But of course, we'll have to leave it there for today because we're out of time here for this program. Just a couple of comments. Calvin Williams saying a tax rate in El Paso is the equivalence of civil asset forfeiture, and Marky Mandango saying we'll all live in Santa Teresa soon and that others can pay the taxes for the wonderful baseball team and more. So yeah, a lot more we'll get to here, but we'll leave it there for today because we're out of time for the program. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Y'all really help make the show what it is and continue to talk about what affects us here in the borderland. So we'll be back tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Free for All Friday on deck. So we'll see you then. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. See you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Medical crews and police responding to a crash eastbound Paisano at the southbound 110. An accident blocking the left shoulder on the 10 westbound at Mesa Street. It's a multi-vehicle crash off to the left. I-10 eastbound at Artcraft, 4 vehicles involved in an earlier crash that's all off to the left. And I-10 westbound at Airway. Look for a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, it's Mario Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
The following program were pre-recorded.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen.
News on the hour and a half.
Know the
Traffic
truth,
and
spread
weather
the truth,
all day.
spread the
News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Maryland State Police say 3 people are dead after a shooting at a manufacturing plant. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said he's been briefed on the incident.
State police responded, pursued the suspect. Suspect fired and shot state trooper in the shoulder, who then returned fire and shot him back.
It happened at Columbia Machine in Smithsburg, about 75 miles west.